You're tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Unicare, offering a variety of plans for people insured under the GIC. At Unicare, your health is their top priority. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. For auto, home, business, and life, trust the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 40 years. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. GoPuff, a grocery store right at your fingertips. Use the code Lowell20 to receive $20 off your first order of $21, plus free delivery. Download the GoPuff app or visit gopuff.com today. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Tsonga Center in Lowell. Get your tickets today by visiting masspiratesfootball.com. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you here from the WellPoint Studios in downtown Lowell. Unicare is now WellPoint, in case you hadn't heard the big news. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. We thank our friends at WellPoint for helping to make this podcast and all of our Inside Lowell podcasts possible. And of course, we thank all of our sponsors, the one you just heard Danielle's voice reading off, and of course, all of our other sponsors that you see on the website for helping to make Inside Lowell possible as well. We've got an interesting and informative guest joining us today. So let's get right to it right now, because this man is the old saying, he's going to be busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest over the next couple of weeks, and frankly, all of 2024. Right. He is the elections director for the city of Lowell. Greg Pappas, longtime acquaintance, friend. We can admit it to folks. I'll admit it. You may not want to admit it.
No, yeah. I mean, your sister and I went to high school together.
Yeah, you had the pleasure of sitting next to my sister alphabetically in Drake Public Schools forever.
Even graduation, yep.
Yep. So thank you. Thanks for joining us today, Greg. How are you?
You good, Teddy? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I appreciate you coming out here, because we're recording this on Wednesday, February 21st. Right. On Saturday, February 24th, you actually start the early voting period here in the city of Lowell for the March 5th presidential primary. Right. How is that process going, and what kind of challenges has it brought to you and your office to have to do this 3 times in a year, between the presidential primary in March, the state primary the day after Labor Day, mind you, in September, and then turn around in 2 short months and do a presidential election in November of 24?
Right. Well, it actually, when a lot of people don't realize, and the manager walked into the office, Golden, one day last August, checking on how things were going for the, not last August, last October, checking on things going for the city election. And he said, "What's that?" I goes, "That's stuff for we're processing candidates for the state primary in March." Now? I goes, "Yeah. The candidates, we have to get them on the ballot information. We're already working on that thing while we're still trying to do the city. Statutorily, the candidates had to file last year to get on this ballot." So I says, it never stops. People think just because. And then right now we're getting in nomination papers for the state election in September. So while we're trying to do this primary, we're already taking in signatures for Congress, for state rep, for legislature. It just, that stuff never stops.
When people come to get their paperwork for the September primary, you tell them, "Listen, here's your papers. Don't come back here till March 6th or 7th.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that. We just had a bunch of papers turned in this morning, which we have to work on while we're doing the testing of the machines upstairs. But the bottom line is yes, 3 in 1 year. Most people don't remember it being, for some reason, they forget this one. I mean, a lot of institutions do too. It happens every 4 years. It's really a political election. It's not you have the president and the running for the nomination of his party. Right. the state committee members, and then you have the ward committee members. So it's really not anybody. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's a political ballot. It's not they're running for, other than the president, they're running for political office, not public office.
Yeah.
And which makes it even more interesting because people look at it and go, who are these people? What are they? And all that. As a result of that, we have to have one ballot for every ward. So we have 8 ballots for the Democrats, which are different in each ward, 8 for the Republicans, 8 for the Libertarians, because Libertarians are now a party. So we have 24 ballots. They have to go to the right places and be mailed to the right people.
And do you have to print these in the multiple languages as well as you do in the municipal, English, Spanish, and Khmer? You have to do that as well for the state and presidential races,
Well, the
et cetera?
secretary prints the state ballots. But yeah, they're all in 3 languages. Now they're talking about trying to fit a 4th one on there. I don't know how.
Are they going to put Greek on there? So for people like you and
they said it's already on there. I just don't know. You know, I got to get your cousin to look at it. But I mean, it might as well because a lot of people can't read even the English. What's odd about it is even the Khmer, a lot of people that are Khmer, like some girls, one of the ladies in my office, said doesn't really translate that well. And the Spanish can be, like one lady told me, it's more Dominican than Puerto Rican. And, you know, I mean, secretary does the best he can. I remember when we were doing this, as you know, I worked for Galvin for 27 years in elections, and we knew each other for 40. We started in the state house together. He was an election attorney. So going into secretary's office, 17 divisions, elections was like #1 hit for him. All of this started with motor voter in '96. It started coming in that way. And when the languages started coming in, like in Boston, my friend Sabino, who runs the Boston elections, by the way, he has 3,200 poll workers that he has to train. And when he gets the ballots, he has Mandarin. But like Tom Menino, when the mayor was running for re-election, Menino and I were legislative aides together. He calls the office, and he used to always bang heads with the secretary when he was a state rep, and he was a city council. And what happened was, he calls in, he says, "There's a secretary in, Greg." I says, "Yeah, I can find out." I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "Somebody told me in Chinatown that he put under my mess, you know, you can carry, an election person can carry a statement like candidate for re-election. It said, 'Big fat man.'" but in the other Chinese, it meant big boss. And there's all these issues and problems with translations, you know.
Forget getting the information out to the voters in Lowell and beyond. You and I need to sit down and do a podcast with some of those old stories after you retire, though, right?
Yeah, which should be soon, hopefully.
So, are you? It strikes me that you may be catching a little bit of a break in terms of what's going to transpire these next couple of weeks. In that the primary seems to be over before it ever started. President Biden is pretty much running unopposed. I know is Marianne Williamson on it, and then the other dude. Yeah. But even like the Republicans are all pretty much out of the wayside now, except Trump and Nikki Haley, and she may be done by then. Right. Anyway, on March 5th. But this is a lot of work to get this together because you have, 10 days, 11 days of early voting starting Saturday? Right, starting Saturday, going to the following Friday. Okay. And then the mail-in voting started when? When did you start getting those ballots out? Soon as these hit the public. So go back to what you were saying is 37% turnout 4 years ago. I wasn't here. I was in Boston working as secretary. So I think, like you said, it could be half a turnout, 15%. But we already have like 7,000 ballots came in. And here's how the mail-in thing works and why people wonder why we're there 5 straight weeks on weekends and nights. On election day, I have 300-something poll workers. Like the state election normally is 30,000 people vote in Lowell. On election day, they take care of about 20,500. We take care of 500 ballots that are absentees. But now with mail-in voting, they're taking care of like 16,000, and we're doing 14,000 in the office with 3 people. So would it make sense to get some of those poll workers to come in for an extra period? They're not elected. They have to be election officials who work with VRIS. And the thing is like I said, so you got 3 to 5 people processing all these ballots, and to process a ballot to send it to the polls is easy. The process of mail-in, first of all, these go out, they come back, half of them are wrong. We put them in a system. We have to scan them in. We have to wait till we get a good amount of them. Then we print out stickers. The stickers come out. We have to put them on the right ballot. And in this election, there's 24 ballots for Lowell. 24, 8 Democratic different ballots, 8 Republican different ballots, 8 Libertarian different ballots. So they have to go with the right. So then we mail them. We have to mail them in Barica 01852 because if we mail them in Lowell, they go to Boston.
We have to mail Centerville and Drake because if we mail them in Lowell, they go to Woburn, Waltham, sometimes Boston and back. But when the public mails them back to us, and we have to deal with processing them again, you'll see the stamps on them are all Boston or Manchester, New Hampshire. So the post office is overwhelmed, and this is getting bigger and bigger now. Sure. More and more people are voting by mail. And so instead of having the 300 people, the 5 people are doing more and more and more and more. So we literally have been there 3 weeks straight, and we will be there 2 more weeks straight.
So let me put aside the mail-in voting for a while, because as you said, people are starting to avail themselves of that, and they're using it in large numbers. The early voting, the fact that you have to staff, and we'll get into exactly where the early voting is taking place, but you have to staff at least one location, and you also have to have kind of a drop ballot box somewhere on your premises as well. We see these numbers in the municipal elections, and we saw them in 2022. The early voting, once the mail-in voting came in, the early voting is basically nobody's taking advantage of that at this point. Is that putting a burden on you guys? Or?
It's actually, doesn't really even affect us. We moved it from the senior center back to City Hall where it was. We take the top wardens and stuff out of the 300 to run that. We're downstairs. If they have a question, we go up. The biggest thing, we have to go in the morning. We have to get the ballots at night that vote with the police officer, bring them down. So after 5 o'clock, after the polls close for that night. So it's the City Hall hours, except for the weekends, 9 to 5. So we have to come in and we have to take the poll pad, which is like the old check-in sheet. The Yanan has to get the poll pad, bring it downstairs, upload it in the morning with the new registered voters, so nobody can cross-vote. Bring it back upstairs the next morning before the polls open. That's the biggest deal for that. They pretty much run themselves. And we do it at City Hall. We actually got more people that were voting at City Hall. Maybe it's close to walking distance, plus city employees, whatever.
I was going to say, aren't they pretty much all city employees that are taking advantage of it?
The public still too, you'd be surprised. But the bottom line is, I can't remember how many voted the last time, but it really basically came out to about $110 a ballot.
It's quite an investment for the taxpayer. Let's address something that you caught a little bit of heat from, although not as much. I thought it was going to become a bigger issue once we reported it. You took that pretty blue ballot drop-off box that was outside City Hall and moved it into the lobby of the police station. And a couple of folks said, that's going to intimidate people. They're not going to want to vote. Can you please explain, because I don't think I did it justice in the article I wrote. Why did you do that?
Well, first of all, we had one in Merrimack Street that got broken into. Luckily, they didn't get into the ballots, because if your ballots get stolen, I can't say, there's no way knowing whether you voted or not. Some towns, Boston had somebody put a rag in one, light it on fire, and burn 400 ballots. But anyway, so that got damaged, so I can't use that one anymore. This one outside got broken into right in the police parking lot, broke the lock, but luckily we didn't get into the ballot. They didn't get into the ballots because they were playing with the lock. The funny thing was, when you look at this $3,000 thing that the city had to pay for 2 of them, the guy at Lowell Lock, who's terrific, I love the guy, him is the lady that works with him. He basically said, he says, you really want me to fix the lock? I says, well, I have to try something. And he turns around and he says, watch this. And there's 6 screws on top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a screwdriver, with the power ones, which is, you can get it $7 at Wally World. Goes through 6 of them, takes the top off. There's the ballot right there. So they're paying for these secure things that the state's approving that are unsecure.
I'm glad you said the story, because, by the way, Mike Colley, Lowell Lock and Key, sponsor of Inside Lowell. If you need emergency lock and key service, he's your guy. But he sent me a photo. He goes, watch how secure these ballot boxes are. And he showed me there's literally 6 screws with a traditional screwdriver. You can get at those.
He did it in 11 seconds with the power. I never noticed it because I'm not focused on that stuff. But so I put it in the police station. And if you can't go into the police station, you can walk into City Hall. But I mean, look, you can vote by mail, you can vote early voting, you can drop off during City Hall hours. I mean, the way the pre-COVID, you just had one day you voted or you mailed it in. Let's be real. If you're afraid to go to a police station, I don't know what the reason is, but my guess is you're afraid they're going to grab you. Well, then good, you shouldn't probably be voting either. I don't know. But you know what? That's not an excuse. That's the best I can do. I am not putting the public's ballots in jeopardy with any box that they sell in the United States right now. None of them are secure. That box is staying in there till I'm out of here, which is not going to be too much longer. I told, I did 3 years, but that's legally covers us. But the reality is, there shouldn't even be that. Some cities do this, and one of the councilors was talking about to check out Worcester. They have 12 boxes. We have 12 fire stations. Putting it at the fire stations, the ones on the wall. So you put them on the wall, and you have the camera over it. 12 of them. So if you did that in Lowell, you have the camera over it. You have to have somebody go every day and check the ballot boxes for ballots, which take a full-time person for me probably a good part of the day to drive around the city to do that. You wouldn't think so, but it does. The second part, again, they're not secure. And the third part is, what am I going to do at 8 o'clock on election night? Send a police officer to each one, stand it. We already use them. How many police officers? They have to stand there at 8 o'clock. At 8:01, they have to open up they have to take the thing, look what ballots are in there, lock the thing so nobody can vote after 8 o'clock. I'm going to do that to 12 police officers? No. We can't do that. The police can't be spared for that. The box is in the thing. I'm sorry. And if not, mail it or drop it by or whatever. We're there, All
right. It's Wednesday, February 21st. We're here in the WellPoint Studios in downtown Lowell. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. We're chatting with City of Lowell Elections Director Greg Pappas. Okay, so it's the 21st of February, the presidential primary, March 5th. If I haven't registered to vote yet, is it too late?
You got till 5 o'clock Saturday. We'll be in there. City Hall's open. Plus, it's open for the early voting anyways. If you don't get in to vote Saturday by 5 o'clock, Secretary Galvin's website, technically, legally, you can vote till midnight. A lot of people don't tell you that. But if you go on his website, you can register anytime. But up until midnight that night, he sends us the stuff the next day.
So if you can't get to City Hall by 5 p.m. Saturday, you can still get on the Secretary of websites till midnight. So midnight, Saturday into Sunday morning is the last time that you can register to vote in this primary.
And he will send us those that are, we have to figure out if they're duplicates or not.
Okay. And early voting will have started on Saturday morning. It will end on Friday, March 2nd, is it? Or I'd have to look at my calendar. It's the Friday.
4th, 3rd, 2nd. Yeah, Friday.
Okay.
March 1st, I think, right?
All right. Mail-in ballots. If I've requested one, have they already come out? Do I still have time to request one?
Yeah, you still do technically till next Tuesday, but again, it's the U.S. mail, and they're overwhelmed. When the Congress did this, they never basically gave them the staff to handle.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of your bills and your credit card bills and your doctor's bills aren't getting delivered, and you're getting late fees. Sure. These things are overwhelming the Postal Service. I could tell you a story about what I saw coming back from the mail to the secretary's office, but there's no sense in doing that. But it took 4 months ago.
That's the podcast after you retire.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
So plus you got to think, if it's winter still, we're maybe going to get another snowstorm. We've seen that delay the mail. So if you're going to vote by mail, get it done now, because the opportunity is there.
And Secretary Galvin kind of did me a favor. I mean, he put Boston and Lowell out first. He called me up. He says, I'm put a rush because you guys got triple. And then he did us a favor. So they were out like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we've been getting ballots in from, get-go. And the process is turn them around as fast as you can and get them in the mail. That's why you got to do turn them around, because they got to get in the mail, Okay. So he put these cards out.
So why is it such a rush? I watched in 2020, things were arriving in the mail in Pennsylvania and in Wisconsin and Michigan, and were being counted 3 days after the election, 4 days after the election. Why in Massachusetts do they have to be there by 8 p.m. on election night?
State law. Unless it's you or cover overseas military. They can come in up to 10 days later. But that's military.
Military only, or anybody who's traveling overseas?
If I remember, it's only military. No, not traveling. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a military only. Even expats, they have to be in by 8 o'clock. I'm correct. I may have to look at that, but military gets 10 days later. But they can come in electronically too.
Okay.
But 8 o'clock deadline, that's the poll. That's it. Yeah.
All right. So if it comes in the day after, don't bother complaining to you.
It comes in at 8:02.
And that's a state law. That's not something you or the city of Lowell has decided. All right. Let's talk about Election Day itself. Did I hear you on the radio say 82% 2,000 registered voters in the city of Lowell.
Yep. So
basically everybody in the city is registered to vote except the infants.
Yeah.
The Lowell General Maternity Ward.
Yeah. So you have about 115,000, maybe 20,000 people in Lowell. But the reality is it's not just adults that are 18 and older. 16-year-old kids, when they go to the registry, they pre-register them. So you got a lot of 16-year-olds that are pre-registered, but we can't. It shows on the screen, not old enough for ballot, not old enough. The day they're old enough, it comes up, you can give them a ballot. So there's a lot of that. So that's why the thing's so high. But basically, between the registry of motor vehicles and there's 5 agencies out there that register people all the time, we get a report every morning. It's another thing. It takes like 2 hours, of 300 to 400 of these things that we have to run through. Check out which are duplicates, which are wrong, which are this, and then get them letters in the mail, about 150 a day, saying, okay, you're registered to vote. Here's the situation. Or you're not because you didn't fill out the thing or whatever. So that comes to us through the registry. And the other thing I want to point about that is a lot of people who do not want to be registered to vote, and you'd be surprised how many do. And I know the reason why, but I'm not going to say it because it will injure a certain system. But that draws on the registered voters. People will call up and get really angry. I tell them, don't yell at my staff. Talk to them. And I had a guy come in the other day and said, I didn't register to vote, and damn it, I told him at the registry not to register. And I told him, I said, look, here's the story. A couple years ago, your legislature voted to, registry has to, the lady standing there, the guy standing there, has to register to vote by law. If you want to come off, you have to call us. And I took the guy off. He signed the thing. I said, see you in 2 years. He's right. They're going to do it again. No, they're not. They're going to do it again unless you try to get the law changed. I'm just telling you this. That's the thing. Don't argue with the person. You got to talk to your legislators. It's a state law.
Okay. Polling locations. Any changes from the municipal election just a few months ago? Exact same locations.
Same ones. No more Bailey. Still we're daily like we did the city. Yeah.
So unless you have moved yourself to a different address in the city and registered at that address, you will vote where you voted in November if you're one of the 7,700 people.
Right.
All right. The rest of us. Polls open 7 a.m. till 8 p.m.
Yes.
What do I need to bring with me?
Well, if just in case you're inactive, which means you didn't vote in 2 state elections, which the state does that to protect you. So in case you moved, your name's still on there and somebody tries to vote for you. Or if you didn't fill out the census that we sent last spring, we mailed it out in February, and then we mail a second card out in April. And believe it or not, I'm getting census from February now. And a year and a month later, right, or a year later, those will reactivate you, or they keep you active. But if you don't fill them out, you get inactivated for your protection again, April 15th every year. You're going to get another one because it's going out either next week or the week after. So I'm going to get calls from people saying, I just filled this out. Yeah, you filled out February 23, that I mailed you in February 23. This is February 24. You're going to get a second one in April if you didn't fill out the February one. Fill them out, and you don't have to worry about being inactivated. But those are going to have impacts on the September one, not so much on this. We went from 31,000 inactive down to 4,000 right now.
Okay.
So bring some form of ID, credit card, ID card, driver's license, a water bill, so something shows you still live there.
Okay. And but you don't have to show that unless the poll workers tell you, or the warden there tells you you're not on the active rolls. And whatever.
You're inactive. You're on the rolls, but you're inactive. We to give you a ballot, you have to sign this piece of paper to reactivate yourself.
But the important thing is that don't leave and go home without voting. If you have some kind of ID, you can vote. You can always put a provisional ballot in, right, to be considered.
You're going to be able to vote if you're inactive that way. You put in a provisional ballot. There's people that came and said, oh, I meant the wrong one. They thought they were at the wrong one, or they were at the wrong one, or they weren't registered. I still want to vote. They give them a provisional. I don't count them later on when I go through them in here, but the bottom line is you get a provisional.
All right.
You always get a ballot.
Here's the fun one, and I don't want to cause you headaches, but I voted by mail on February 24th, and I changed my mind. Suddenly, I don't like Donald Trump anymore. I want to vote for Nikki Haley.
Right.
I can show up on Election Day.
But if you already mailed it in, you can show up. It's going to show you mailed in your ballot. You can't at that
I can't at that
It's already been cast.
When can I?
But if you come in with your mail-in ballot, and you have the ballot in your hand, and you say, I changed my mind. I'm not enrolled in a party. I want a Republican ballot now instead of a Democrat. The warden can, because you can spoil 2 ballots. I mean, 3 ballots. You get 3 ballots.
Okay.
So you can turn that ballot in, and you can do that now.
Can I do that before election day,
you
though?
come to the office.
So you'd have to pull, if I already mailed it in and I don't have it in my possession,
Right.
I come to the office on Monday the 4th
Right.
and tell you, can you please pull my ballot out of that pile because I now want to vote in the Republican
What we
primary.
do is if we had
You're
a
going
couple
to hate
come
me
in.
when this is done.
No, that's because this is a process. When we had a couple come in this week, and they did, and the ballots were already sent in. It's not cast until we put it through the thing. But the bottom line is they came in, and you cancel the ballot, and you give them the new ones. So that ballot has it's associated with, I think, if it gets put in the machine, it'll say canceled.
Okay.
The new machines will say canceled. They'll only take the second ballot. So you can't vote twice.
All right.
Yeah.
So by 10 o'clock on March 5th, we should have the results. Used to be like 8:45, 9 o'clock, but all this mail-in
When you
stuff
count it by hand, you mean?
has changed things.
When you count it by hand? Like a break it?
Well, it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
We used to be able to count millions of ballots by hand and get the results instantly. Now we got to wait 4 days later to get official election results.
This creates a lot of, like I said, you have 300 people in Lowell that helped us do all the ballots. Now you have 50% of the ballots. In this case, right now, 7,000 have to be processed by 3 of us, five of us rather, and the 300 will only have to process the other 50%. So that caused a lot of problems, and I want to talk about this. So people are saying we're not getting the message out about the election. First of all, it's usually the candidate's responsibility, not the cities or towns, to do that.
You said that at a city council meeting, and boy, did you tick some people off.
Too bad. That's the reality. The states and the cities and the taxpayers not responsible for telling you when an election is. If you can do some things, fine. We try to do things. Oh, we like the road signs. We need to put the road signs up, and Paul did some stuff for it. Paul St. Cyr, DPW. 5 flashing light. You're right. Tuesday, Wednesday, such and such, and then you miss the other 4 signs. The other 4, you know what I'm saying to you? You go by them, you can't see all 4 messages. So they don't do much of anything. We're trying to find better ways. But the reality is, Secretary Bill Galvin sent 82,000 of these to every single registered voter in Lowell. If you didn't get one, something happened in the mail, and I'm not blaming the post office because they're overwhelmed. But 82,000 people got that. If this doesn't tell you that there's an election and you can send in your ballot for all this year, what more do you want the state to do or the city to do?
Stop making sense. There are people who make big money to complain about things like voting accessibility.
And then what happens is, in this case, we had almost 25 to 2,700. We've probably got 7,000 ballots now. Another 2,500 of these came in, and there's basically 2 forms. This one, as you can see, is I don't know if you can see it, but this one here, Ted, is for a person who belongs to a party. I mean, is unenrolled. If they're a Democrat or Republican, they just get that. So you could check for all year long because we know what ballot to send them. Believe it or not, I got tons of people who signed their name, didn't even check what thing. So I can't send them a ballot. They didn't even check off. They didn't check off all year long. They didn't check off primary. They didn't check off anything. So I can't send them anything. And try to get in touch with them with no phone numbers. We don't have the time to do it. We don't have the time to mail it back. I mailed some back, and it was costing the state double because the permit got charged twice. So basically, it's impossible.
So these folks are probably just finding out now. They're like, hey, where's my ballot? I sent my thing in.
And you didn't do it right.
Months ago.
Right. You didn't do it right. So you're going to have to go to the polls and vote. This one's for unenrolled people. So what you pick off, again, up here is pick what elections you want them for.
Lift that up. Just there we go.
Yeah, if you want to hold it close to the camera. And then over here, as you can see down below, you have to pick, if you're unenrolled, you have to pick a party in the primaries. So you can pick one in the state primary, you can pick Democrat in the state primary, a Libertarian in the presidential primary. You can do either one, but you got to pick one. If you don't pick one, I can't send you a ballot. I can't pick one for you. And I've had people call up, well, can you just pick one for? No, I can't. I can't. It's not. You can't do that. The law doesn't allow us to do that. I got about 2,500 of these, so there's going to be a lot of people not getting them. So you're going to have to go to the polls, read them. I had one gentleman come in, puts it on the counter. He goes, "Here you go. Okay, come back here." He goes, "What?" He goes, "I signed it." I goes, "You didn't even check. What am I supposed to do with this?" He goes, "Where?" I goes, "Did you read it?" He goes, "Yeah, I signed it." I goes, "Well, why didn't you pick up what do you want for the election?" "Oh, I didn't see that." "Well, what did you want me to do?" I said, "Well, come back again." I says, "You didn't pick the primaries. What am I supposed to send you here?" "Oh, I didn't see those either." He goes, "Well, if you didn't get the ballot in the mail, You're going to blame us. It's not our fault. You have to read.
So listen, when I get a new service on the internet, they tell me to read the terms of agreement, whether I agree. I just agree with them. I don't go read them and actually check
I know,
things
but
out.
this isn't big. It's just one. If you want a ballot, it's important enough for you. If you want it for the whole year, let us know. And then what will happen, even in September, we're going to get people checked off all year, sending in applications in September and November to, they're not going to get one of these and Galvin will take them off the list, but they'll send absentee ballot applications in to vote by mail ballot applications off the system. Then we'll be looking at them and we have to go through process, find out, they're already on the thing. And it takes more staff time, of which, again, like I said, there's 5 of us. And I'm not knocking the management. Every city and town doesn't have enough people. They're never gonna until they stop this or basically take the 300, put them in the office for the 150 for 3 months, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because they do the work that they all do. They're only doing half now, and
we'll solve all this when you can vote from your computer or your cell phone.
Well, that's one thing.
Don't worry, that push will come soon.
Yeah, well, we have the machines, and somebody had called me on them because of the ones like in Georgia where they're talking. It's the same name, but we have a paper ballot. Georgia was like a ATM machine. It was electronic, so you just got the receipt like you got your thing when you take cash out. We don't have those. Massachusetts, Galvin will never allow those. I don't know how long Billy's going to be secretary. Hope he's until 100.
Why won't Secretary Galvin allow those?
He's an election attorney first, which he always was, besides being a state rep and whatever. But he knows you need evidence, you need paper ballots. I've been to Supreme Judicial Court, watched them argue things all the time. You need the paper receipt, not a receipt that somebody takes home and throws away. You need that ballot. The ballot's there. And with the recounts on these machines, the ballots always work. Am I running over for you?
No, you've got plenty of time. Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that we get to, that's a great thing about this. I don't have commercial breaks. I don't have top of the hour station IDs. So again, March 5th is the primary. Early voting starts Saturday, February 24th, and runs through Friday.
All City Hall hours.
All City Hall hours, okay? Right. The ballot,
except for Saturday and Sunday, that's 9 to 5.
If you don't want to mail your ballot in, you can drop it off. The box will be in the lobby at the police station, and you can do that till 8 p.m. On election night, and of course 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Vote at your precinct's location. If I don't know, I don't remember. I haven't voted in a couple of years, but I'm inspired by somebody, Nikki Haley, whoever. Is there someplace I can go on the city's website to find out where I vote?
The best thing is just going to Galvin's website. And that's what I'm going to probably put up at the polls. Those are QR codes, they call them. But if you go to Secretary Galvin's website, I watched it being built. I mean, he's incredible website. If you go there and say, where do I vote? Just type in, where do I vote, Massachusetts? Comes up to his website. You put your name, information in and all that right there. And it brings up, not only does it bring up where you vote, it shows you your ballot.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that because everyone said, well, why doesn't each city have this? Why doesn't it's on the Secretary's website? It's taken care of in a central location.
Right. And the other thing is we got all the ballots posted on our website. And the problem we were having too, so we got hacked. Well, what was happening the last couple of months, I was noticing, because I don't pay attention to the website because we just don't have time to do that. Because like I said to you, when we're doing a city election, we're already starting the state election. What we're doing is presidential. We're already starting the state primary election. We're already doing papers today for September. It's, crazy. And bottom line is, if you look at our website, there's some things that we have a lady in the office who handles all of that. Not in our office, but down the hallway, there's the communications for Tom Golden. She's terrific. She gets everything up for us. But we noticed it'll be up for 3 weeks and it's down. It'll be up for 3 weeks and the old stuff pops up. So I talked to a couple of clerks around the state because I still get calls from clerks that know me from when I work with Billy's office. And, especially there's one out in Chicopee. She calls me a lot because she can't get through. It's too busy down there. She'll call me. And she said, what do you, and I was talking to her again last week when I found out there were 5 other clerks that had the same thing happening. I guess the company, and I don't want to mention the name, but the company that runs the websites for the whole state, all the city websites and the town websites, was having a little problem, but it wasn't telling anybody. And things would disappear go up for 3 weeks and the old one would come up. And up to the old. So people call us, why is this still up here? I didn't know because I don't look at it every day. You do as a person. I don't have time to look at the city website. So I'm assuming once you put something up, it stays. And MIS has figured it out too. It's got nothing to do with the hacking. So as soon as they clear up that problem, hopefully the stuff will stay up there.
Okay.
But Galvin's the best website.
I want to bring you back in August to talk about September and November, but just briefly, all these issues we talked about, these logistic issues and whatnot, they're going to be on steroids come September, right? Because you've got to start early voting prior to Labor to Labor Day. You've got a primary, a state primary for state rep, state senate, whatever.
Congress.
Congress. That's right. You've got that. That's going to have to lead up to it in August, and then I think the primary is what, September 5th?
The day after Labor Day.
So you've got 60 days basically to turn around and get ready for, actually less than 60 days when you consider early and mail-in voting, to get ballots printed with all the winners, plus, what are we looking at? Half dozen ballot questions that could be on?
Well, that's
could be on there as well?
Yeah, and if you have, I mean, we had 4 the last time, and we had, 4 questions, and we had 6 pages. I mean, not 6, 3 pages, both sides. If we have 6 or 7 or 8, you could have 5 pages, 6 pages because of the languages. And I know the secretary's concerned about that because it's going to cost like $3, $4 to bail a ballot. You know, I mean, it costs us $2 to bail.
You're going to need a bigger envelope, aren't you?
What's that?
You're going to need a bigger envelope,
and that might be another
you?
thing too. I mean, this ballot here right now is $1.78. Just for this one political ballot is $1.78 to mail to the houses, and then to pay. Then if they don't have to pay to come back, the state pays for it, which is them paying for it anyways. Us taxpayers paying for it. But the thing is, again, it's not really 60 days. Like I said, we're already starting that stuff now. While we're trying to do this election, we're already doing the paperwork for it. We're already taking in the candidates' signatures.
How long does it take to create the ballot? Because there'll be some contested races. You won't know until the next day, September 6th, whose name should go on the next ballot. You got to start early voting by, it's going to be like October 24th or something. How long does it take you to realistically get a ballot, make sure there's no typos, mistakes, or whatever? Can you get it done in time?
Well, that's the filing deadline is April. I think April for the party candidates. A week later for federal party candidates, and then we put it all in the system, the VRIS system, which has been 2 years now. They've been trying to update it. They kept telling you every 6 months, new update. They haven't been able to do it because they're busy. And that goes into Boston. Boston, the Secretary's office produces the ballots, 2,250 different ballots for the Commonwealth, basically, somewhere around there, 2,250, and all with different languages. I mean, Boston has like 90 or 100 different ones with, just think of each district with a different governor's council, different state rep, different state senator, half of a, it's a nightmare.
Well, that's easy. You've got from April till September to do that. What happens in September through October?
The state starts doing that. That's their job. What we do is we're already doing like the training, getting the poll workers lined up. We have to get the chips for the auto mark machines that are the hearing for the blind and deaf. We have to get those translated by a local translator to Khmer, because the translation company in Nebraska doesn't do Khmer. So we have to do them here, and then we have to get them to them, and then they have to get them back to us before the early voting. Like I just got them the other day for the early voting Friday. You know what I'm saying? And then
does it tick you off that you guys have to do all this work and then 7,800 people show up in a local election?
No, I mean, it's just, the point is, what happens is you get so run down and tired. And I mean, I'm older now, but it's just, the thing is I worry about, like, we've had a couple people who are really sick, and we had one young lady been sick for the last 2 weeks, and she's been trying to work through it and hasn't worked good. And her not be able to keep up with it. I mean, like I said, you could have 10 people in the office. It's still going to be crazy. Today we have the testing of the machines. We have 38 machines up in the mayor's reception room. They've been there since last Friday, charging. They were supposed to be done Saturday, but because the state got the chips, the memory card stuff late to the company, we have to do it late. So the commissioners have to take a day off. They normally come in at night and do it on a Saturday. So it takes 3.5 hours to set those machines up. So when we're trying to do that with 2 or 3 people, there's people downstairs trying to put stuff in this. There's 2 of us trying to put stuff in the system. People taking it. We have to take papers in over the counter. We have people asking questions. The phones. You see what I'm saying?
All right.
It's just because of mail-in. That never happened before.
So you reminded me of something I wanted to ask earlier. Good. I'm glad you did, because we can get back to it. So you mentioned that on Election Day you swear in the 300 volunteers. You swear them in on Election Day or a period before? And does that swearing in last for just a 1-day period?
Yeah, technically when they sign the thing, that's it pretty much, because you can't get them all in one place. The there's a lot of election laws that, you know, that were not being done by the city, but we straightened out. But there's a lot that can't be done too. For instance, realistically, there's old election laws that you have 6 people working a polling location or a precinct. So you have to have a couple extras. It's a long day. So you have a warden, a clerk, and 4 inspectors. You're supposed to have 2. Now, where this is, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 2 Libertarians for each one of the 38 precincts. Now, I'm lucky I can get 300 people.
Where are you going to find 2 Republicans in Massachusetts?
Go down to Cape, where you're going to find 2 Democrats. Just all Republicans in some towns and no Democrat. So we know the state's laws have to be. It's just we're at the point like we're talking about other laws of people playing basketball and stuff that's out of control. Well, you know.
All right, so why can't you, these people that you swear in to do the job on election day itself, in this case March 5th,
Right.
Can they be sworn in to help you in the office for the lead up?
No.
Why is that? What's the law that does not allow that?
Technically, it's basically the VRIS system, which I keep saying that. It's the Voter Information Registration System that started with us back in 1996 when Galvin took office, when we started doing this whole electronic thing. So I'm familiar with it. But technically, the only one, there's a thumb tab, a finger thing that you push down on to get into it after you do the code in and stuff. People have to be licensed, and I can only have 5 of us licensed in our office. So if you can't be licensed for that, you can't touch anything else. If you shut the camera off and turn the mic off, I'll tell you what I really do want to look still, because it's impossible. Because there's no way to get the stuff done.
That's for the post-retirement
That's for the post-retirement.
Okay.
But like clerks around the area here, and clerks then I know out west and clerks down south will tell you the same thing. There's no way to do it if we don't do other things that. Yeah.
All right. Before you get into trouble, I'm going to say Greg Pappas.
I hope I get into trouble. I let me tell the whole story. It's not the secretary's fault. It's the federal laws coming down, and they don't. Like I said, who would pass this law in Washington? When I worked for Atkins, he would have said, "Well, what are we going to do for the post office in this case?" At least Chester would have said that. Marty would have said that. You know, what are we doing? What are we doing for the post office? What they're going to pick up all this mail? That's why we had. Well, I'm just going to say 620,000 pieces jammed up of these things the first time, and your bills were in it for 4 months. That's why all your bills were late, folks, and you paid late fees. These things. Now it's about 900,000 of them. So
a lot. Greg Pappas, City of Lowell election
just being
director.
honest.
Thank you for joining us here in the Wellpoint Studios.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk soon.
Hope it helped everybody out.
You certainly did. I want to thank all of you for joining us here as well. I hope you learned something. I hope that cleared up any confusion you had regarding voting for the March 5th primary election. That's for the Democratic and Republican presidential nominees. If you want to participate, early voting starts Saturday, February 24th, and the mail-in voting is going on now. So get to it. Of course, Election Day, 7 a.m., 8 p.m. Polls open at 7, close at 8 p.m. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.